Childhood roles, identity, and family dynamics. Siblings reflect on growing up alongside a brother or sister with IDD, how it shaped their identity, responsibilities, and a sense of empathy. With an educational background in developmental psychology, Christine brings over 25 years of experience as an educator in the public and independent schools. With an educational background in developmental psychology and a focus on adolescent resilience, she has served in a range of roles as an education specialist, school administration, and a social emotional learning or SEL coordinator. Attuned and sensitive to the strengths and challenges facing youth, she leads with a strength based approach and perspective. She enjoys working in schools to support and empower students in their learning, self advocacy, leadership, and creative problem solving. With the current AI movement, she believes students can be responsible and informed users of social media and technology and is interested in the impact it has on their physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development. Their parents immigrated from Taipei, Taiwan, to Houston, Texas in the 60s, and Christine is the oldest of two siblings. Her younger brother, Didi, was born with Down syndrome in 1973. Both Christine and Didi were born in Houston and grew up in a Chinese American household where internal conflict and culture views on children with developmental delays came into play within the family. Christine moved to the Bay Area in 1994, and Didi moved from their parents' home to the Ramita home in 2018, the year it opened, which was prompted after their father died unexpectedly. In addition to being Didi's sister and conservator, Christine is now the biggest advocate for Didi and a cheerleader, sometimes acting as a second mom to her little brother who's now 52. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Thank
good to
you
have
for
you on the
having
show.
me.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot so far about mountain climbers, and something that has been really important is telling the story of how people get to the top of their mountain. And some people, they haven't seen their peak yet, and others they feel like they've travailed some, but right now they're maybe in a valley looking at how to get up another peak. I think in your case, it might be really important to start from what we would call the beginning of your mountain. And for that matter, do you like to climb? Do you?
I appreciate the metaphor of climbing. I think it's a great visual. Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a mountain that we all climb, and I think
Sure.
for me personally, it probably did start in the home for me. I think because, my family, I'm the first generation, my brother and I are the first generation that were born in the US. And so that we are the generation that does not have the benefit of being with our extended family, right? Because we immigrated. And my parents immigrated from Taiwan to Texas.
That's right.
So we didn't really have extended family around. And so I think that was, I think, one of the challenges
Mhm.
growing up. It was, I don't know if it was a mountain, but it was definitely one of the challenges.
It seems definitely like something that would be steep within culture.
Mhm.
And then also, you return to a community that is your household, you four, no more.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I know other families, they have grandparents or cousins
Mhm.
that they
Mhm.
can kind of escape to, and that ecosystem becomes bigger.
Mhm.
Help me understand what it was like for you,
Mhm.
having your brother there, but, different. And then also being in this isolation within this community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know at what point I was aware that it was different. I think growing up, my parents, they created a very, happy home, safe home, and it was a very loving home, and I felt like my role was to take care of my younger brother, right?
Yeah,
Because he's my younger brother,
yeah.
and everyone, I think, in the family just looked at him as, "Oh, let's we all need to take care of him and pitch in." And I don't think it was until I got into middle school, I was in middle school and high school, a little bit older, as a teenager, that I realized that no one else really had the experience that I'd had. In fact, I don't think I knew anyone who even had a sibling who had, any sort of disability that was like a known, maybe a more visible disability, right? And it was I think it was isolating, in that I think I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, and I really needed that at that point in my life. I think, when you're growing up as a teenager, when you're getting into adolescence, you have a lot to talk about, and I think for me, it was it was it was just something that wasn't talked about in our family, right?
How did you overcome that?
It was
And
like the elephant in the room that was never really talked about. If I asked my dad would say, "Oh, yeah, he's a little slow, and he probably just needs a little help." But there was never really any discussion around what he actually had. And I don't even know if there was a term that was ever used. Uh, and um, yeah, there wasn't a term that was ever used. So it was, I mean, it was, yeah, it was. I think I shared the story with you about the when I went to the library,
no, no.
and, I had gone to, the library, and they had some, I think, free books on the, table, and I picked up a couple of books, and one of the books was on, there's an old term called Mongolism back then.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, it was a book that was on people who with Down syndrome, right? And so, but back then, I think it was, also referred to as, mental retardation.
Mhm.
So that was another term as well, and so I had a book that was about Mongolism, another book that was about mental retardation, and I had wrapped it, you know how when you are young, you wrap your books
You
in
have to protect your
paper? You
books.
have to protect your books, right? Good old days when we had books. And,
Right.
I had wrapped it. And I had written "book" on it, because it was just I don't know, it was just something that was just not said, right? It was just not talked about in our household, even though it impacted everyone's life um, so many different, joyful ways and not so joyful ways. But just in it was probably one of the biggest, events, I think, in our family.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. I wanna figure out, did you go to the library in an intentional search, or did you happen to be walking past and you saw it and it piqued your interest?
I probably at that stage, I don't exactly recall, but I was probably seeking information because I was trying to understand what I was experiencing day to day,
And what was
right?
that?
I think it was, who is this? What is it that my brother has? What is it that my brother needs? Right? What is it that, why can't he talk, um, like everyone else? Right? Why can't he, um, problem solve or learn, the things that other kids can learn? Why is it that um, how long is this something that he grows out of? Like, I really just had no understanding around it, and didn't really have much education around it either, because my only source of any information was from my own family. And so I think at that point, I was probably seeking information, in understanding his condition, and so that was my way of looking for it, and finding it, because that was before we had, right, any access to, um, online information.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
Googling this.
No, this was, you go to the library and you look.
Yeah, I think there's something about being able to go, um, and search,
Mhm.
but you literally have to embark on an expedition,
Mm,
and one of the many things that I respect and I've come to revere about you, Christine, is that you're constantly exploring this idea of awareness, both of yourself, with objectivity towards others.
mhm.
And you're always interested. I feel like you should, when I meet you, I feel like you should be wearing some sort of expedition hat.
Yeah.
Because because you were going to find things out, and that's what I always tell people, when they encounter you, they describe not you on
Mhm,
the outside,
mhm,
they describe how you make them feel. And
mhm,
I know the moment they start talking, you met Christine, didn't you?
mhm.
How did this exploration at a young age, young Christine, doing this, what I will call the first of many explorations into who am I? Who is this person in my household? How does that relate to the world around it? How did that connect to the Christine that I see today?
Oh, okay. What I was not aware of at the time when I was growing up, it's very similar to, I don't know if you've ever read about it, but it's similar to siblings um, who have brothers or sisters who are sick, maybe,
Yes.
who are, who are critically ill
Yes.
in some way, and, what sometimes happens is that the other child who is not sick, um, does not does not just says doesn't get as much attention, as the one who is.
Mhm.
And I think I realized that growing up as an adult, that I there were many emotional needs that I had that I think were not visible even to myself.
Wow.
That I realized later, you know what? I actually feel like I might have had some emotional needs that maybe were unmet as a child.
Of course.
And it and I think I struggled, I struggled in different ways with that. And so I think that was one of the, I think, biggest pieces as an adult emerging out of, as an adult and realizing, wow, okay. And so that might tie back to what you just said, which is, um, being able to provide that for myself, but also being able to provide that, to other people.
For a lot of other people. And
Mhm.
I think there's something there that I do want to just pull on for a second. It's a gift, to be able to, one, be objective.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised how many people sit in that very seat. And we're here looking at the mountains and the
Mhm.
peaks that they've climbed in their lives.
Mhm.
And it's really hard for them to be objectively, non-judgmental. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Without condemnation, without
Mhm.
criticism,
Mhm.
self-criticism.
Mhm.
But objectively look at their lives and say, "Hey, this is where it started, and this is where we've gotten,
Mhm.
and we've seen so we've gotten to some beautiful heights, and I've helped others see the way as well."
Mhm.
I think there's also something that is your superpower, that has come into play with, children. But I guess what I'm most curious about is, where was the epiphany that this is who I am? This is what I do.
Mhm.
When did you have that moment?
I had it when I got to California.
Wow. So now completely removed from your family.
I had to disassociate from my experience completely, and I think I also had to distance myself from my family too, because, when you're raised in a culture that has a lot of history, that's grounded in a lot of history, that's also rooted in family and children, and where parents and individuals have a group identity um, within, that is defined by the culture. And in our family, my parents were they were traditional. They were progressive thinkers, but they were traditional in their values. And and for me, I think it was not feeling guilty or feeling maybe a sense of duty, not feeling that I was betraying my own family and in a way betraying myself too. But I think I just needed some distance from all of it, the whole experience. And I think I realized it when I work in a field in education called special ed.
Yes.
And so I do work with kids who have disabilities, and a lot of neurodiversity. And so I think that was when I realized, wow, okay. I had a friend that asked me, "Is that why you do what you do?" And the light just went on, and I thought,
What?
"I think that
you're,
could be."
you're currently in the career.
Yeah, and
And
I
you
was
go,
like,
oh.
and it didn't occur to me, and then I realized, holy smokes,
Yes. It's
I that was a
a
big
whole
one.
trip.
That was a big one,
It's a whole
right? And that was a big invitation for me to also reflect on that more deeply in the years after that. Yeah, and I think,
wow.
yeah, so that was a start of a.
When you look at the dynamic of being a sibling and now um, have been unfortunate to have lost a parent now
Mhm,
and have that dynamic shift a little bit, but
mhm,
we still have one parent here.
mhm,
What's the one thing that you would tell another sibling
mhm,
that maybe hasn't gotten to this peak yet?
mhm.
What's the one thing you would tell young Christine all those years back before, some piece of advice that you would leave with her?
Mhm. I believe that everything is happens for a reason.
Mm,
And, I don't think I realized when I was younger growing up what the gift that it was for me, um, because I think my parents, raised us very separately, very differently, and so I don't know, I mean, I think I would probably tell her um, that things are gonna work out in the end. Yeah, that things are gonna work out
I
in the
like that a
end.
lot. I
Yeah.
also, for don't tell anybody, but I like the way you turned out. And then, oh, the 5 stars. I I respect the fact that you're still on this journey
Mhm.
and you don't put restraints on yourself. It makes you easy to talk to.
Mhm.
I think it also makes your life relatable. Um, I don't in any way presume to know how hard or difficult it's been for you to get to this place.
Mhm.
Because everybody's journey is their journey. But what's the one thing you would want the world to know? If you could, you already spoke to Christine. What's the one thing you would want the world to know about you and Didi? And if you could say that into the mic, that would be great. I'm gonna leave space for you to do that right now. And you get the last word.
People always say how lucky my brother is to have me because I'm his older sister. I boss him
But yeah,
around.
that's the thing.
I look after him. I'm his biggest advocate. I'm there. I'm there right with him. And I think what they don't realize is how lucky I feel um to have him in my life because I he's such a joy. He's such a joy. He's pure love. And, he yeah, he's I don't even know how to describe it, but even being with him and in the last few years since he's moved into the Ramita home, I've had an opportunity to just it's just us, right? It's our relationship. The 2 of us are developing our own relationships separate from our parents, being with our parents around all the time. And he's just lovely. He's just really sweet. And, I really he's just so happy, and I look at him and I go, "What?" I have so much to learn from you because he's so happy. Um, and yeah, I mean, I feel like that's really that's how I really feel about him.
It's awesome. And because we wouldn't be mountain climbers if we didn't ask, if Didi could write a headline about his sister, what do you think he would say?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if there are any deep thoughts there. Let's see. Um, I think he would say, "You know what? She's the one who takes me out for a Coke."
I knew you were gonna say Coke.
My addiction, it's just his
Coke, can we get a
addiction,
sponsorship?
which is his addiction. And, yeah, and we're always he's like, "Alright." He's like, "Yeah," and she's the one who takes me, and we listen to Michael Jackson, and we go out and we have fun. We go on outings. I take him out all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that we are just about at time for today. And Christine, you've been very kind in sharing just pieces of your life.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for the book. And we might just see with the power of
Mhm.
all the technology that there is today, might get done a little bit
Mm.
sooner than later. But either way, I've, as always, enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate you coming on this show and sharing your lived experience with all of those who are listening and all of those who are watching. If you're watching online, I'd encourage you to listen on, especially if you're a policymaker and you want to hear about the journeys of each and every one of these advocates and all the forms that they come, but the lived experiences of the individuals themselves, because all of it tells a tapestry of a story of a very beautiful community. Christine's been willing and available, but there's so many more that we weren't able to get on camera, maybe for sake of time. And as we mentioned, Didi lives here at LSA with us, and so it did all work out. But for there's so many others that they're waiting for that happy ending. And so if you've been watching this and maybe you're not a policymaker, maybe you're an advocate, maybe you're not an advocate, maybe you're a sponsor, maybe you're not a sponsor, maybe you're a parent or a loved one, or maybe you're just someone who's always been curious about the IDD community, you can support people like this. You can support families and communities and advocates like LSA by sharing this content, by posting it somewhere, by getting these voices listened to. Could also give financially, and we always accept donations. But more than that, share these stories, start a conversation, and hopefully, if you know one person with IDD, you know one person, get to know two, maybe three. Christine's definitely got a armada at this point of families that she's interacted with and helped so many lives. Why don't you be the same type of hero? Maybe not exactly like Christine went through, but definitely in the hero that you listen and share. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate, as always, you tuning in. If you haven't seen any of the other episodes, please do listen. We have an amazing season for you. It's been wonderful filming so far. We're so grateful for your time. Thank you so much again. Take care. And thank you, Christine.
Thank you.